Hey, Rainbow here, and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to learn how to change a battery, simple project for most people, but not all, in the Ducati Multistrada V4 Pikes Peak. This is really the same thing that you would do for any motorcycle. That's pretty much it. So this is going to be specific to the Ducati Multistrada V4 Pikes Peak. It would be the exact same situation for any of the Ducati Multistrada V4 family, because I also believe they all take the same size battery. Now, let's get started. Okay, so before I get started, I have to kind of tell you a story, because I already shot this video, I already did it, and I couldn't complete it because here's what happened, all right? My Ducati comes with a Yuasa battery. Another company, EBL, reached out to me and said, hey, we want you to try one of our lithium ion batteries. And I said, sure, if it's free, it's for me. I said, no problem at all. So they asked what kind of bike I had. I told them, and then I sent them a photo of the actual battery, the specific Yuasa battery right there that I just purchased today, by the way, from my Ducati dealer. And so they sent me the battery. I got it in, and I started making this video a couple days ago. And I got to the part where I had to put the new battery in, and I realized it's too wide, it will not fit. So if you have a Ducati Multistrada V4, any of that series, and you take this Yuasa YT12B-BS, nothing that EBL makes, nothing that they make that's properly sized will fit like this will. Okay, so let's just get that out. So luckily for me, this EBL will fit perfectly in my KTM RC390, so I will do an install for the KTM, but that's a little bit of a backstory. Now, I wish it would have worked out, and I wish it would have fit. The reason why, this Yuasa weighs about 9 pounds, and this thing here, it's like it's a kilo. It's 2.2 pounds. It's 1 kilo. Now, little something about lithiums before I get started on this. Lithiums are way lighter weight. They have way more duty cycles, but they're horrible in the cold. They're not really good for cold climates. So down here in Florida, this would have been perfect. This one has half of the amp hours based on the voltage, but the cranking amps, it was about equal as far as that's concerned. But the bottom line is that's not going in today. Let's get that Yuasa put in. Let's do it. Also, proceed at your own risk. This is a lead acid battery. It's going to tell you right on the box, caution, do not drop or puncture. This has sulfuric acid in it. You do not want to get anything on your skin, your eyes, your clothing. And just make sure that you have like baking soda available, maybe some baking soda to put into a bucket of water that you have ready to go. So just be careful before you do this. Now, while we're on the subject here of working on this, let's look at something else. You're going to need two things, and that's it. You're going to need your key to take your seat off, okay? You need a 4mm hex right there, and really a nice size. I like a larger size right there. See that pointy thing? Yeah, Phillips head. Anyway, so you need a Phillips screwdriver and a 4mm hex. Let's get started. Something else that's super important. I had this battery charging. Make sure you do not have this charging, or you're going to ask for some big trouble when you go to disconnect those leads if they touch something. Please make sure you disconnect any kind of a battery tending that you have going on here. Do not put a battery tender on it. Please disconnect it to make sure when you disconnect that battery, there's no power to it. Like I said, this is quite a simple job. You just get your number 4mm hex head, okay? Use that to remove this one screw. That's all you got to do. You can put it on a cordless drill, however you want to do it to save yourself some time and ease and effort. I'm just doing it by hand here, not a big deal. You take the screw out, set it to the side so you don't lose it, and then you just remove this bracket that clips in and goes down on top. And part of this bracket, this round portion, holds down this little line right here. Okay? Now, one of the things that I like to do, just for so I don't lose things, is I like to put the screw a couple threads right where the hell it came from. So I'm not looking for it, doesn't fall anywhere. I just put it right back where it came from, just give it a couple of turns. Now I know I'm not going to lose it. Next thing we want to do is disconnect the battery. Okay, what I do is I always remove the negative terminal first, because this is the one that goes to frame, and we want to remove the frame ground. All right, so it's just a quick Phillips. I can put my hand in the way. All right, take this out, put it somewhere so you don't lose it. No reason to put it back in the battery because you're going to need it on the other one. And in this case, I have 3 wires that are coming off. I have the main terminal right here, and I have these 2 that came off. One of them is for a GPS locator. Okay, so let's take this off, and then so that this doesn't accidentally short out or anything while I'm taking the other one, I'm going to put a little bit of tape on this. Well, here we go. Now do the same thing with the negative. With the negative, I'm also going to have 3 wires. Just loosen it up, take this off. All right, put it somewhere you won't lose it. I'm putting mine in and then just take the wires off. All right, some of these wires, they can just go wherever you want to put them. Just get them the hell out of the way. Sometimes you can tie strap them up out of the way, and if they won't leave, like here, I'm going to put another piece of tape around this just so it doesn't accidentally connect with anything. And if anyone wants to argue with me about removing the negative terminal first, go ahead, have at it. You can explain to me why I'm wrong, but I'm not, so deal with it. Anyway, so now it's really that simple. It's just time to get the battery out. It's going to be a little bit tight for you to get out. You have to kind of work it loose. I have to be careful because my back is screwed. All right, so I'm going to be cautious. Remove the battery and get the new one ready. Okay, now it's time to prepare this battery, and it's going to take a little longer than you think. There's different, like I said, there's different ways to do it. You could throw it right in there and charge it in there, but I'm going to do things a little bit different here. First of all, you have to be aware that part of your battery pack is the sulfuric acid. So you want to make sure before you put this acid into this battery, and this comes as a pack, you want to make sure that you are in a well-ventilated area. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my garage door. So because you're dealing with sulfuric acid, you can certainly expect to have that nasty smell like the rotten eggs or old man farts or whatever. So on the top of the battery here, all right, you're going to take this off, and this is going to allow you to put everything, all the sulfuric acid, in here. There's these little sharp tubes that are going to pierce right through this sulfuric acid bottle, and you're going to have to let this drip down in. So let's get this started. I can't tell you enough how to be cautious when you do this, all right? Because you're going to take off this top, this cap right here, and you're going to hold this to the side because this is eventually going to go in to seal this, but there's a whole procedure we have to go through before that happens, all right? So these are all sealed with the sulfuric acid. You're going to turn it upside down. You're going to make sure that it's even in there, and then evenly you're just going to press down and watch for the bubbles to come up. As you can see, the bubbles are slowly starting to pop up here as all of these start to fill. Now inside this particular type of battery, there are, it's like thick mats that have to absorb all of the sulfuric acid, okay? Now, if you run across a problem where you have one of them that's not bubbling, and I notice that this one on the left and this one on the right isn't bubbling, or a little bit slower, you can always give a little tap. And in an absolute worst case scenario, and I really wouldn't recommend doing it, you can always get a little pin, and I would only do one at a time and just put like a little pinhole at the top. You don't want to do that to all of them, because what's going to happen is it's going to soak into the battery way too quickly and you run the risk of it spilling over. All right, so we don't want to do that. So the other thing you want to do is to let this go for a minimum of 20 minutes. So I'm going to just set a timer, wait 20 minutes, and see how far we get with this. Some of them are going a little faster than others, but they are all going down. All right, 20 minutes, let this go. Well, now I've verified that everything I went in, it's been at least 20 minutes, right? There's nothing left in here. Now it's time to take this off and dispose of this in the garbage, because it no longer has the sulfuric acid in it, so you can throw it in a regular garbage if you need. The next thing we're going to do is continue with the waiting game. We're going to just loosely put this cap, just on top, just like this, just so we keep anything from falling into it. And we're going to let this thing sit and let the matting in there absorb that sulfuric acid for at least an hour. And if you feel this battery, you will now feel that it is getting very warm, because the chemical reaction is starting. Now, just out of curiosity, I'm going to take a voltage reading here and see how many volts we have on this right now. It's early, but let's do it. All right, let's see what kind of voltage we have. Again, it's very early. I just put the sulfuric acid in. Let's see what we got. It volts DC right off the bat. Look at that, 12.9 volts. That's pretty darn good. I can't complain about that. I believe anything greater than 12.6 is good for these. Again, we're gonna let this sit for about an hour. Let all of that absorb into the matting. And once it does that, we're still gonna leave this loose, and then we're gonna put it on a little bit of a charge, or I might just put it in the bike and then put it on charge. It depends on how warm this gets right now. All right, let's continue. This is sat for at least an hour, and according to the manufacturer, you kind of want to, again, not put this on tight, just let this a little bit loose in there and go ahead. This is the positive side on the left. Go ahead and connect that one. And I got this little trickle charger here that I have it on 12 volt standard for trickle charging. And we're going to go ahead and see if this thing connects in. And we're going to let this thing charge and see where we go. And as you can see, this has a way to go. It's only at about 13.4 volts. It's got certainly a little bit longer to go. So we're going to let this go, again, leaving this a little bit loose. And then once this is done charging, we're going to go ahead and pop this in and put it in the bike. Let's give it some time. Now that you're done charging the battery, go ahead and put this and settle it right in where it belongs. Start getting them all pushed in. And this cover is not designed to ever come off again. So once you get this pushed in and in place, it should never, ever, ever have to come off for any reason whatsoever. Again, because we now have a completely sealed battery. And of course, once that's done, let's put it in the bike. And by the way, the new battery comes with new screws and new little nuts that get pushed underneath here or sideways. These are going to be mounted from the top, like you saw earlier. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start getting this stuff put in once I get it in the motorcycle. And now it's time to drop the battery in. It's a good idea to clean this out in there. You'll probably find some bugs and little things that fall in. Just slide it right back in place. And it's time to make the connection, and we're going to do it in reverse. when we started, we removed the negative first, then we added the positive. We're going to do this in reverse. We're going to reconnect the positive 3 wires first, then the negative, and we'll move on from there. One of the things I forgot to mention is make sure you put the inserts, the nut inserts in there. They won't snap in place, but there's little spots that they won't slide out, and they'll help center them so that they're always centered, okay? Again, make sure you put the nuts in there before you drop it down. I forgot to tell you that. It's going to be kind of hard to do this without getting in the way of the camera, but now it's time to start putting these 3 wires back on. So let's get started. I'll put this one, I'll put these 2 together because I have to go through the nut, okay? And then I'll just add this one separately, but I'll put it between these 2 so that it pinches a little bit better. And then at that point, I'm just going to go ahead in and hope that the threads catch for me, which they should. Now I would make it nice and what I call good and tight and be done with it, because here's the thing. I would only use a screwdriver on this. I would not use a nut driver because you have a tendency to probably strip this out, and you don't want to strip this out. That's the last thing you want to do. So the torque that you generate from a decent sized screwdriver should be plenty. All right, so that's in place. Let's go ahead and get the negative in. Okay, same thing with the negative. Put the 3 negative wires on. I have 3 solely because I have a GPS tracker on this, okay? That's connect directly to the battery. Make sure it's nice and tight. They're both nice and tight. Now it's time to put the strap on, and let's do that. All right, if you remember, I like to put the screws where they belong so I don't lose them. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this out. Go ahead and make sure nothing's in the way. All right, this has got this little piece here that's going to hold this in place. Find it. Boom. Right there. And now we can put the screw in. You probably can't see it too well, but we'll get there. It's literally that simple. Literally that simple. All right, so just tighten this down appropriately, and we're done. Now we're completely done, and you can start putting the seat back, and it's time to do 2 more things. 2. Don't forget, make sure that there's power to the bike. All right, what you will have to do is reset the date and time. So don't forget, you're gonna have to reset the date and time, and then one last thing to do. And finally, now that you are done, everything's back together, you had the bike turned on, you set the date and time, put your seats back on, one more time, plug it in at least for the night, overnight, and charge your battery and keep it on the tender. And that's what I'm doing. And remember, trickle charge, 12 volt trickle charge. So you cannot do this job unless you have a battery charger. This is Rainbow. Please like, please subscribe. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And have a good day. Bye-bye.